Hello and welcome to episode 37 of Novel Knits. My name is Deonn and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about what I'm knitting and what I'm reading. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you're new, welcome. And if you're returning, thanks so much. I really love that you guys come back and chat with me about what I'm working on and what you're working on as well. Today I have some finished objects, some works in progress, some dream knitting. I don't know if it's really dream knitting or if it's sort of next on the needles knitting, although I rarely do what I set out to do, so I think I will call it dream knitting. And then I have a little book club at the end, which is not going to be very long today. If you want to connect with me on Instagram or Ravelry, I am Novel Knit Girl in both places, and everything I talk about today will be listed below this video in the description, so yarns, patterns, bags, anything else. And if I forget anything, just leave me a comment. I always respond to all comments. So yeah, let's get into it. The last time I spoke with you, I was going in for a surgery the next day, and that was about 2.5-ish weeks ago, maybe a little bit less than that. And everything went well. It was an outpatient surgery for a partial hysterectomy, and everything went fine. I was in and out in less than 6 hours, which felt a little fast, I will say, because it is full anesthesia, and I woke up quite sick from the anesthesia, so I did feel like I was pushed out a little bit after the procedure, but I've healed really well at home. The first few days kind of stunk because there was a lot of medication in my system, and I was having some pain in my back and my chest and my shoulders, which I think is normal when you have gases and IVs and drugs in you. And after like the second day, I've just been feeling better and better and stronger, which has been great. I knit a lot. I thought I would have like 6 finished objects to show you today, but I jumped around a lot to a lot of different projects. I didn't set goals. I just wanted to work on what I wanted to work on. So it is a lot of works in progress today. I also decided to frog a few projects, and I recorded some short videos just to show the projects that I frogged. I wouldn't normally do that, but one of the projects leads into 2 of my current WIPS, so I thought it would be kind of fun to just go through that process. So I'll insert that after my finished objects and before I start talking about my works in progress. I didn't watch as much television or read as much as I thought I would. I almost had a little bit of I was a little overwhelmed. Like when you have nothing to do except sit around, I couldn't focus on anything. So I think that's why my knitting was all over the place. And I watched 2 seasons of Bridgerton, which I've seen before. I watched 2 seasons of Victoria, which I've seen before. And I watched Pride and Prejudice, the Colin Firth version, which isn't my favorite, controversially. I really like the 2005 Keira Knightley version the best. I know. And I also watched Sense and Sensibility. I got Hulu recently, so those last 2 were on Hulu, and it was all fine. But I just found I wasn't I don't know. I was watching mainly knitting YouTube videos or listening to podcasts or listening to a book, but not as much book listening to as I would have expected, which is fine. I mean, I had a surgery, it was fine. So the only thing that kind of set me back, and I wouldn't even say it set me back, was I thought I was ready to take the dog around the block again, because I take the dog for 3 walks a day. Her name is Penelope, and she's sitting here nicely. We did have to start over because the first time I tried recording, she bit my sweater and we had some issues, so she's being very good right now. But I thought I was ready to take Penelope around the block after about a week. I was not ready. So luckily my husband walked with me, so when we got about halfway around the block, I was like, this is hurting, and he took the leash. And I mean, she's only a 18-pound dog, so I didn't think it would be painful, but when she was pulling on the leash a little bit, it was just sort of hurting. And if I didn't mention it before, I did have a partial hysterectomy. It was robot assisted, so nothing, I don't know. The incision sites weren't very, it's like around your belly button, not very painful, but every once in a while, like if I would wind yarn or take the dog on a leash, it would hurt a little bit. But about 4 days after that, I tried again and I was ready and I was cleared for work. So I'm back at work and everything's good. So thank you for those of you who sent well wishes and checked in on me. I really appreciate it. It's nice to have some knitting friends that, you know, that reach out. It was really kind. So thank you all. Okay, finished objects. I am wearing one. This is the Lento. This is a pattern by Jonna Hietala, which I'm probably saying incorrectly. I'm very sure I am. This pattern was originally published in one of the Lena magazines. I don't have that, so I got it on Ravelry. And the yarn that I used was, or is, Sonder yarn, the Grace base, which is, I believe, it's a fingering weight base and it's a single ply and it's got some cashmere and silk in it. And then I held that together with their Haze, which is their Surrey silk. And so the Grace was the color Madeline and the Surrey silk was Rocket. And they held together to make this amazingly gorgeous fabric, which I'm really happy with. I love it. It is unbelievably soft. So this is a pretty straightforward raglan sweater. If you are on Instagram or watch any other knitting podcasts, I'm sure you have seen this. A lot of people are making it right now. There was a bougie sweater make along, a Let's Lento, and the Grocery Girls are doing a raglan knit along. So I kind of wanted to participate in the Grocery Girls knit along because I've been wanting to make this for a long time. It's a raglan and it just seemed like an excuse to cast it on. So it's a pretty basic raglan, but it does, I'm gonna come close, it does have this gorgeous folded collar here that you fold over and it's so squishy and just, it feels so good. I will make this on future sweaters for sure. And then I think I was here when I showed it the last time that I recorded, like 2 episodes ago, because then I put it aside to work on another sweater that didn't work out. So after my surgery, I really picked this up and I focused on this sweater. So it's got raglan increases and just beautiful stockinette. And for the bind offs, I just bound off in ribbing. So I did not do anything special. Right now, the thought of a tubular or sewn bind off doesn't bring me joy, so I haven't been doing them. I've never done that before and I would like to learn the skill, but I'm just not there. I really love how the sleeves fit. I followed the directions pretty well. I don't think I made any, especially on the sleeves. I followed the decreases in the pattern. The body I may have made a little bit longer. I've mentioned I'm taller and I've got a longer torso, so I usually add some length, but this is not, I wouldn't call it cropped, but it's not like the length I would make a cozy sweater. I'll stand up. So like here's my hip bone and here's my waist. So it's good. I really love it. This yarn is phenomenal. This pattern is great. It makes a very classic sweater. It's at a larger gauge that you knit it at. And again, a lot of you probably already know this, but because it's knit at that larger gauge, you don't use as much yarn. So this is a great sweater pattern for using something really soft and a little bit more luxurious because you don't need to buy a lot of skeins. This was, I think I used 1.5 skeins of the fingering and just over 2 skeins for their Surrey silk. So I have quite a bit of yarn left over and I didn't have a ton to begin with. I think I ran out of the Surrey silk about here on the second sleeve. So if you wanted to make it out of 2 skeins, you could easily make a 3/4 length sleeve and have enough yarn. I did make size 2, so that is specifically for my size. I think, I don't know, if you cropped it and for a larger size, I also think that would work, but you don't use a ton of yarn, so it's a great option for a more expensive yarn. I hope that this sweater holds up well because I can see this being a favorite in my wardrobe for a really, really long time. It'll look great with jeans. It'll look great with, you know, dressed up. Like, I don't go to an office, but I do have to travel for work sometimes. So like with a, you know, a pair of dress pants, I feel like this would work for a lot of different things. So it's great. I love it. I can't recommend the pattern, the yarn, all of it enough. My second finished object are the library socks that I made for my son Milo. This is a pattern by The Kitchen Sink, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. And I just love these. So here's one sock. I used 60 stitches. I do all of my socks magic loop, and I did a fish lips kiss. And the yarn that I used is a yarn to die for, and the color is Cloudy with a Chance of Blue Skies. It's so simple, but yet it was addictive to knit. This is the back of the yarn. I really love this color. I love those pops of vibrant blue. It's just so pretty. But basically you do the cuff, and then you do 2 rounds of knit stitches and 2 rounds of ribbing. And it just makes this squishy, beautiful sock, which is not all ribbing. And that's nice. And the ribbing's only on the front. So it makes it very, very stretchy and squishy. And I'll use this pattern again. I really liked it. And this yarn is so soft. I don't know, it's a 75-25, but it is so super soft. So these are done. Milo loves them. He tried them on for me this morning, and I will get some pushback for saying this from my husband. He is the most knit-worthy person in my family, because my daughter, sometimes she likes or uses what I make for her, and other times she just can't be bothered. And my husband always is grateful and wears everything I make for him, but it's like, not like I don't think he really cares. Like, if I never knit anything for him, he wouldn't be upset. My son, though, he will wear these and he will love them, and he will tell me how much he loves them. I made him that scarf for his birthday, and every time he wears it, he's like, Mom, I love this scarf. It's just a gray scarf. But he's just very, very appreciative and very much loves wearing what I make for him, which is very sweet. So he'll be back soon for more socks, I'm sure. So I'm gonna quickly splice in those 2 videos right here, and then I will be back to talk to you about my works in progress. The first WIP that I am deciding to frog is the Fading Waves by Stephen West. I started this in 2020, and I was gonna pull it out this month and maybe try to finish it, because I only have 1 more section, and it is really soft and beautiful. It has been on this cord for, I don't know, probably at least 2.5 years, and I have not picked it up. And when I looked at it, I thought, yes, it's gorgeous, but I don't have it in me to finish this one, and I'm gonna frog it. So this takes 3 skeins of yarn, and I had decided to do the fingering version. So this is in a Bags by Awesome Granny, and it's a really cute fox bag. And I have 3 skeins of this monologue yarn from Leading Men Fiber Arts, and the colors are London Fog and Gothic Queen. And then I have a 3rd color called Bent Neck Lady, and they're all really gorgeous. I really, really love the yarn. It is super soft. This is a single ply, more pricey yarn, so I do definitely want to use it. But if you look at the tag, each skein has 523 yards. So I don't know if I'm going to put this in another 3 skein project, or if I am going to make these single skein projects, but I just know I am not going to be completing this project. So I'm going to be ripping this out and frogging this back. This is the second project I am frogging today. This is the ZickZack scarf pattern. This is a free pattern that I found on Ravelry, and I am using Nomadic Yarns in Gillyweed, and it's a tweed base. It's really beautiful, along with Miss Bab's Yummy 2-ply or 4-ply, I'm not sure, in Obsidian. And I actually really love this. I love the pattern. I love the yarns together. But when I think about it, I don't know who in my life would use this scarf. It's not really anyone's colors for a scarf. So because of that, I think I would much rather just make my husband a pair of socks with this gillyweed color and rip this out and cast it back on in the future in a different color palette, because I think I can use a different color palette that will be either something I can easily gift or use for myself, because it's a really enjoyable pattern. And again, here is the pattern. I believe that the designer made it using 2 gradient yarns held double, but I really like using a self-striping and a solid. So that is probably what I will do in the future once I recast it on. But this is going to be frogged now. Okay, I have a lot of works in progress. Like I said, I was sort of like a pinball machine bouncing all over the place, and I just decided not to let that bother me, not to put any pressure on myself. I was healing and I just wanted to work on what I wanted to work on. So the first thing I'll show my blankets first. I have still been working on my blankets. So this is where I keep my Cozy Memory blanket and scraps right now. This is a bag by I Heart You. So I added 6 squares to my daughter's blanket. The last time I showed 6 squares that I added to my son's blanket, that's kind of the number I do. I try to alternate between their blankets, and I'll add 6 squares and then 6 squares. And so now I'll work on my son's again. I am doing slightly different patterns. I don't know why I did this. I've no recollection as to why I decided to do something different, but this one is following Kemper Wray's The Coziest Memory pattern, which they're both free. So there's the Cozy Memories and then the Coziest Memory. The only real difference is Kemper Wray's is 46 stitches and the Cozy Memories is 40. So Claire's blanket has 6 extra stitches per square. So her blanket is coming out a little bit bigger. So the most recent squares that I added are, these are Yarn Ink. Yarn Ink. The Love Song sock kit. I made a pair of Coffee Talk socks out of this. And so this was the main Love Song color. And then these were the 2 coordinating minis that went with it. This is Lolo Did It and You Look Beautiful Baby. And then this is my most recent socks, the Let's Stay Home socks by Nancy Wheeler. And this is the Creative Knitter Goodnight Oh Hi and the coordinating mini. So I really like how this is turning out so far. I kind of wish I hadn't done, both of the blankets kind of have like my 2 beginning squares where I didn't really know what I was doing. And I wish I would have just not put those on because they don't really fit with the rest of the blanket, but it's a scrappy blanket and I think it'll be fine. So it's coming along nicely so far. Okay, and then the next blanket is my Scraptastic Stash Busting Blanket by Samantha Johnston. And for this blanket, I am making a series of magic knot balls. I'm still on the first one. I honestly don't remember. I made this magic knot ball a few years ago, and this is either Ruby and Roses or Yarn Café Creations. I want to say Yarn Café Creations, but I also can't guarantee it. So whatever this one is, the other one I started with was the other. And then once I ran out of that one, I found some Trilogy yarn minis that I wound up. I think they're all kind of in blue shades after this. So now I'm working on some Trilogy yarn minis. And this is probably the thing I am enjoying working on the most right now. So because this is such a big project and is going to take so long, whenever I want to work on it, I'm like, you know what? Put a couple rows in. It's no big deal. There's so many things I love about this blanket. I'll try to express them all, but I may not remember. So here it is. The last time I showed it, I was where this Angry Uterus is. Aw, I don't have one anymore. So here we go. That's what I've added since I last showed it. So the whole thing so far looks like this. And I just love all the colors. It is so soft. It is a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away, but it has these gorgeous I-cord edges, which makes it really look gorgeous. I don't have any ends to weave in because I am doing magic knot balls. And every color combination looks so good. I mean, there's not anything that I don't enjoy looking at in this blanket. It is so pretty. I just love it so much. So after I run out of these 2 magic knot balls, I am going to be, so funny story. I lost some yarn in my house. I don't have that big of a house. It's not tiny, but it's not a huge house. I do have yarn all over the place, to my husband's chagrin, I'm sure. And I looked in all the regular places twice. Looked under my bed, looked in my closet, looked in all the little baskets and trunks I have yarn stored in around the house, and I could not find this yarn. And I went back downstairs to the basement to look in my one yarn cabinet, and then I remembered when we like to do a spring cleaning like 5 times a year, like with the kids stuff, to just get some stuff out of the house. They're growing up, they don't need toys anymore. They don't play with certain toys anymore, but they don't always want to get rid of them right away. So we just, every couple months, we try to give them away to people who are maybe could use them more or would love to play with them, because they shouldn't be sitting in our house doing nothing. Anyway, all that to say, it opened up one of those storage baskets in our IKEA shelving unit, and I remembered thinking, oh yeah, well here's an empty spot, I'll just put some minis in here. So that's where they were, thank goodness, because I was starting to be concerned that I accidentally gave them away to like Salvation Army or Goodwill. Like, I was really nervous that like it accidentally got put in one of those piles. But anyway, all that to say, I found the yarn. And so this is 24 minis in here. The ones that are wound are Lantern Light. This was a Halloween mini set that I had gotten in 2021. And then the ones on the bottom, I think I showed half of these when I was doing Vlogmas, but these are my Holly Press Fibers Advents from this past Christmas. So these are gonna be the next to be wound up into magic knot balls. I did order some of that fray check to put on all the knots once I'm done with this, if I can find them all. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to find them. I'm trying not to worry about if the magic knot balls are the best way of doing this or not. I love not having the ends to weave in, so for me it is working and I'm very happy about it. So this project is bringing me a ton of joy. It's not nearly as fiddly as mitered squares, which those aren't hard either, but this is just, I can just sit down and not think very hard and pick it up at any time. So this is definitely a go-to comfort project right now. I better speed things up here. I don't have that much time today. Next I have my vest number 3 by My Favorite Things. I think I showed this last time. This should be done. We are sort of at a campaign to avoid finishing it right now, as will be proven by all the other WIPs that I've pulled out in the last few days and cast on instead of finishing this. I think some of that is happening because I have a feeling this is too big. And I don't think that I care that much, but it's definitely made me just like lose interest in working on it. You'll see how close I am to being done. So it's stupid. I should just finish this, and maybe I will this weekend. I'm making this in Lion Brand Hue and Me in the color Peacoat. And here it is. I am on the 3rd skein. I did have to buy another skein of the Hue and Me. And then I bought 2 just because at this point I have enough that I'm thinking maybe I'll make a scrappy project with all my leftover Hue and Me at the end. We'll see. I don't think this is my favorite yarn to work with. I also did not gauge swatch, so that's probably why it's a little on the big side. But I think if I would have used a smaller needle, it would have felt very stiff. So I'm glad I have the gauge, but I made a size 3 and I probably should have made a size 2. But I also think the shaping on the top is gonna come together when I add the collar, and I think that's gonna help a lot. And then you don't really add anything else to the sleeves, I don't believe. So there it is. So you don't add ribbing or anything to the sleeves. I think you just do like a slip stitch. I don't remember. I didn't read that far ahead, but I'm very close to finishing this. I could finish it in a night, so I should. And I think it's gonna be okay, even if it's a bit big and oversized. Not that I want every vest I make to be big and oversized, but there's no harm in having one. So I think it's gonna be all right. I just need to get there. I just need to finish it. That was my dog. So it's coming along. It'll be done by the next time I record, I hope. All right, get rid of that. This isn't an Old Navy bag that I hate. It picks up every bit of dog hair and dust in the house. I may get rid of this after there's not a project in it anymore. No, I'm not playing right now. I'm gonna move next to a pair of socks that I just picked back up. After I had a big case of cast-on-itis and casting on everything that I've been dreaming about casting on for a while, with a few exceptions, I thought, okay, girl, we're starting to get back to that point where you have project bags everywhere and it's a bit much. So maybe pick something up and finish it. So that is where I'm at. I have been working on, you haven't seen this since October. This is a bag by Tanny Casey, which I really love. It's got that waxed canvas bottom and it's just a beautiful print, and it's drawstring. In October, when I did some traveling for work, I was working on, so this is a hoe, the Textured Socks 3 Ways by Dana Ray Makes, I believe. And I finished the first pair, and I finished one of the second pair, which I think this one's called Stacked Columns. And then I finished one of the third pair, which this one is only a hoe. I didn't have another one started, but I had started the second sock for the Stacked Columns. Because I had it on like this. So it looks at me while I'm knitting it. This is, I don't remember the maker, but I got this with my Woolens and Nosh Advent this year. Cute little guy. So I was here when I picked it back up again. And so yesterday I knit all of this. I started the Fish Lips Kiss heel because that's what I did on the other sock. And I am working on the foot now. And I think I want to finish this today. These socks are going to be for my daughter. This yarn is Lolo Did It, probably Low Original, and the color is the Quibbler. It's really pretty. You can see it better on the foot here. I love it. Unless these don't fit my daughter, then they'll be for me. I think we still have the same size foot, which is a women's US 8.5. So as long as they fit her, they're for her. And then after I cast that one off, then I'm going to cast this one on and finish the second sock. But I'm kind of annoyed with myself that I only did the cuff in the contrast color and did not add it to the toe or the heel. Kind of seems like a waste, but I mean, it's fine and it looks good, but I don't know. And I know this is Yarn Cafe Creations yarn. It's a Yarn Cafe Creations, one of her autumn colors, and I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I will have it in the notes below this video if you're interested, because it is a gorgeous color. Okay, and then next I have a new nephew entering the world. He is probably gonna be here in a few weeks, so I better get working on this sweater. I started the Dog Star sweater by tincanknits, and I'm making this all out of Knit Picks palette. And there's not much to show. I'll go through this very quickly. If you have not seen the Dog Star sweater before, it is a very cute colorwork sweater. And I don't think this is a free pattern. A lot of Knit Picks patterns are free, but I don't believe this one is. So this is it. I am making the 6 to 12 month size. And you start with the sleeves. So I have 2 little baby sleeves. They're very sweet. They're just on some scrap yarn. They both should be exactly the same. Yeah, so there they are. It's a bottom-up construction. I did think about maybe making an adult version at some point in time, and I may, but I don't love bottom-up construction. So here's the body. I think I have about 2 or 3 inches to go, and then I will connect the sleeves presumably, and start the color work. So the main, and I'm holding the Knit Picks palette double. So my main color is Marble Heather, which is just, it almost reads a little purpley gray. That's kind of blown out. It's more like that. It's really a nice gray. And then the two contrast colors I'm using for the color work are Tranquil and Abyss Heather. So I guess I should show them all together like this. I thought that would look really nice for a little baby boy. So I will get working on this again. We are leaving in a little bit to go for spring break trip. My parents, who live one house away from me, are in Texas this winter. They usually go to Florida, but this year they decided to go to Texas, and we are going to go visit them. And right around the time we get back is when Henry is supposed to be born. So I would like to get this finished before we leave. I got time. It's gonna be fine. So this is in a Mrs. Brown's bag. This is one of her crochet stitch bags. I have no idea what the fabric is. I just pick ones that I like. Yeah. Mrs. Brown's bag is Jody from the Grocery Girls. I believe she is going to be making bags again, but she's been very into dyeing yarn lately, so I don't know when that will be. Which dyeing yarn is wonderful too. We like that. All right, next I'll go to this bag. This bag is, I've had this for a long time. It is from Catherine Falley Designs. She's on Etsy, or at least she was when I bought this bag. And she presses leaves onto it and then stitches. I just really love this one. So you saw that I frogged my ZickZack scarf, which is like the hardest pattern name to say in the world. The ZickZack scarf by Christy Kamm. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I recasted it on with some new yarn. I'm on the fence about if I like it or not, but I'm gonna keep making it. So the yarn that I chose is, this is one of my favorite colorways of all time. This is called Rebellions Are Built on Hope, and it is by Mint Rain. And I have made my sister and my son a pair of socks out of this colorway, and I bought another skein because I wanted to make something for myself, but I didn't think I wanted to make socks. Controversially, Star Wars Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. For many reasons, I won't get into it here because you guys probably don't care, but that's why I love this so much. This is a Star Wars Rogue One colorway, and all the colors in it are amazing. I love it. And I'm using also Leo and Roxy, it's like a brownish gray. It's a really interesting color, and it's called McSteamy. And I'm holding them together and alternating to make the ZickZack scarf. I started this again because I thought this would be a really nice travel project for our spring break traveling, and here it is. I think I like it. It's really busy though. But I think I'm gonna keep going. So I think this will be more of it'll be my scarf, but it also will be like the family scarf, because sometimes my daughter all of a sudden wants a scarf and she doesn't own any because she never wants to wear one. But then when it's really cold out and she's gonna help shoveling and she wants something for her neck, and this could be a really good one for that. Because she always wants to take my Snuggle is Real cowl, and I'm like, that's fine, but now I don't have anything for my neck. So this is gonna be, I think, like a family scarf. And it is very fun. I do really love it. Okay, I'm sold. We're gonna keep it. So I've been working on this. We started on Hulu the mini-series Candy with Jessica Biel. So I've been working on this. While we watch that. And I think I'm gonna take this on our trip. Okay, all right. I couldn't wait any longer, so I did cast on a new sweater. I was going to wait until after I was finished with the with the vest number 3, but I couldn't wait anymore. So I casted on the Ilya by Caitlin Hunter. If you haven't seen it before, it's like a cowl neck colorwork sweater. I'm really excited by this. I am again making size 2. The yarn I'm using is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. I can tell you right now, this is gonna be a very Knit Picks heavy year for me. I have a lot of it in my stash and I want to move some of it out. So these are the colors I'm using: Mink, Grizzly Heather, and Jurassic. I'm not sold on Jurassic, but I'm not going back. I'm going forth with the color choice, but I don't know that I love it. And I'm not very far. So I did the cowl and I just have started the color work. So I actually just introduced Jurassic into it. When I started the color work chart, I found it extremely confusing. I was not wrapping my head around it. I don't know what it was. Something was not clicking. And I was on medical leave, so I just put it in the bag and I walked away and I worked on something else. And when I was in bed that night, I had like a light bulb moment where suddenly I understood the chart. But I realized I've never made a color work raglan sweater before. Normally when I do color work, all the increases are in the round yoke. And so it's kind of in an increase all around, all at once, where this is definitely the first time I've done raglan increases and color work. So that's what was tripping me up. But once I wrapped my head around it, I have been doing really well with it. Well, I mean, I stopped because cast-on-itis happened, but I'm doing really, I understand it now and I think I've got it down. I hope. Otherwise, I'll rip it out and try again. And I'm sorry if you can hear the rain. It did start raining around here. That's why I look a little disheveled. I took the dog out and it started raining on me. So that always ruins a hair day, right? And then I started a pair of socks for my husband, Nathan, out of the nomadic yarns that was in the original ZickZack scarf that I frogged. And I'm really, really glad that I did. So this yarn is Nomadic Yarns Tweedy Sock in Gillyweed. She does not make Harry Potter named colorways anymore because J.K. Rowling is not ending up being a very good person. And I have feelings about that. Mainly, I do my best to try not to support her financially, but I will still enjoy the things that I have that I've already previously purchased, such as the books, the films that are in my library, and things like this that I've had in my stash. So Ashley may have this color in her shop, but it's not called Gillyweed anymore. So I would just look, if you love it, look for something that looks similar to this. I really, really love her self-striping yarns. This one I am doing when the stripe color changes, I'm slipping one stitch and knitting, slip, stitch, slip, knit for one round and then knitting. And these are kind of, some of the stripes are pretty skinny. And at first I thought you couldn't really see it, so I was gonna stop doing it. But then I noticed you can see it. So these are for my husband, 72 stitches on Magic Loop. This is on a pair of Addies. Addies are not my favorite, but it's okay. I use what I have. I definitely have an addiction with my socks where when I have a sock needle free, I have to cast something on immediately. That's just how I view sock needles. I love making socks. I don't know, maybe one day I'll have to quit, but not today. This is in a bag by Jocelyn Janice. I really love this. It's like the perfect little sock bag and it's scrappy and it's just lovely. Okay. And that is it for my works in progress. I'm going to show you a couple of the next things I plan to cast on. Once I get 2 to 3 things off the needles, I should be able to get a pair of socks and a vest off the needles, and then I will be casting on a few more. So one of the first things I'm going to cast on is, right now, Andrea Mowry is doing her DRK March to May knit along. I've never participated before, but I'm all about an excuse to cast on something new. And I've been wanting to make the DRK everyday sweater for a long time. So I will be casting this on, and I have some knit picks full of the Andes in my stash. Imagine that. This is called Claret Heather. I believe that the Craziest Sock Lady made a DRK everyday sweater in this color, and that is why I was so drawn to it. And I don't have anything this color in my wardrobe, so I thought this would be a nice addition. And again, another classic sweater that will be really versatile and where I'll be able to use it in a lot of different ways. And then I decided, after frogging my big rib, which thank you so much. Oh, I don't remember your name right now, but to the person who reached out to me on Instagram and said that they had some extra Tanis Fiber Arts yarn, and if I wanted it to finish my sweater, thank you so much. I had already frogged it and kind of moved on in my head, but that was really nice, and I never thought to ask around, and I will keep that in mind for the future for sure. Right now, I think that yarn is going to become something else. As soon as I get in my head what I think I want to do, then I change my mind. It'll be out of my stash this year for sure, but I still wanted to make the big rib. So when I had to buy another skein of yarn to finish my Sophie scarf, I bought a sweater's quantity of Knit Picks Wonder Fluff in this Beehive Heather color. And this is one of the recommended yarns for the pattern, and oh my gosh, it is really pretty and it's really soft. And I'm really kind of excited to try this out. I've never used this yarn before, and I think it'll be really fun. So that will be jumping on my needles as well. And then I had sort of a random moment. I had decided a while ago that I was going to frog my Find Your Fade shawl by Andrea Mowry. I've just sort of, I don't want to say outgrown because that's not the right word, but I no longer want to make a 7 skein shawl. And then this pattern jumped on my favorites, or my For You in Ravelry, like based on your previous purchases and like previous like things you've made, I think. And this pattern came up. And I know what you're saying. Actually, I have no idea what you're saying, but it's called Pockets Full Cardigan by Tina Sai, I think. And it's got like, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it's got like some texture and these big, big pockets. And it's made using fingering held double. It's sort of a stash buster. And I just thought it would be a really great way to use up this yarn that I was going to find my fade with. So this was, I haven't actually frogged it yet, but this is, I mean, my Find Your Fade that I'm frogging. So this is how far I was. I showed it one time on here and I never worked on it again. What is that? Stitch marker. Oh, it's like eggs and toast. That's really cute. I have no idea what that's from. So this is 2 Hedgehog Fibers colors. I have 5 Hedgehog Fibers skeins of yarn and 2 Long Dog yarns in here. And they're all awesome. So I just thought that looks like it'll use at least 6 skeins of yarn. So I'm gonna go with it. So this is Hedgehog, this one's Taffy. This is Long Dog. I don't know what it is, but I love it. This is Hedgehog Echo. It will all be on my project page once I start this project. It's really pretty. This one is Long Dog. And if I need more yarn, goodness gracious, good thing I have a stash. This one is Hedgehog Fibers Serengeti, which I like a lot. This one maybe I'll keep out and make socks with. I don't know, we'll see. I need a new ball winder. These are all gonna be pulled from the outside of the skein because these were all I think this might be echo, all wound up at a time when I didn't really have a good ball winder. Okay, and that's it. This is gonna become a pockets full cardigan, which I just think will be a fun pattern to work on. I think this will be one of those cardigans that maybe you don't ever leave the house in, but it'll feel good to wear because this is all really soft and fun yarn. And I'm really excited about that. And I'm sorry if I'm shaking the camera because I didn't think about that. So I will be unraveling this, and this is not gonna be cast on in the next month, this one, but this one is definitely gonna happen. And I looked at the pattern a little bit, and you start with the pockets, which sounds like a good way of starting this off. Okay, and then I did receive some yarn in the mail. I'm not buying a ton of yarn, but I am buying some. I have been watching some knitting podcasts and was enabled recently. Everybody is knitting with zebra yarns, and I have a full skein of zebra yarns that I could definitely knit with, but I saw that she sells 50-gram skeins, and I really just felt like I wanted some of those. I wanted some 50-gram skeins of yarn in my stash that was self-striping. So here's her tag, Zebra Yarns. She's on Etsy, I believe. Yeah, Etsy. And this is the mint cookie color, and I love it. So I think most of her yarns stripe 2 colors. So this is mint green and gray. And then it comes with this coordinating mini. And then I received Golden Heart, which I just thought this looked really good. And then Knitting the Blues Away, which just was so cute. I just thought these would be great. I have in my head an idea of something I want to do, which is putting self-striping yarn with either mixing these up, like doing, I don't know. I have an idea in my head of making socks with half of a self-striping skein and maybe either half of a different self-striping skein, or with a solid color or speckled or something to just make different kind of socks. I don't know exactly what my vision is yet, but I thought that these would be perfect for playing around with that, whether I use 2 different self-stripings or if I use a self-striping and a solid. I don't know if this would be a design. I don't know if I'm really thinking that way or if it's just me playing, but I have something in my head where I want to try something. We'll see what comes of it. Maybe nothing. So that's all the knitting chat for today. I'm gonna quickly do my book club and then I will say goodbye. So if you don't love hearing about books, I get it, and I'll see you next time. But if you do, this isn't gonna take very long and I'll go quick. I did not read as much as I thought I would while I was home. So I only finished 3 books. I finished The Shadows by Alex North. I ended up giving it 2 stars. In the end, I thought it was pretty mediocre. I didn't love it. It had a twist that I didn't even care about, and I just thought it wasn't great. So I would not recommend it. And then I finished It's in His Kiss by Julia Brown, which was Hyacinth Bridgerton's book. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. I think I only have 1 more Bridgerton book left. I think I just have Gregory's, and then I'm done, and I'm okay with it. They're not bad, but they're all very similar. It's a world I don't mind hanging out in at all, but they're also they're okay. And then I finished The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, and I gave that 4 stars. I thought that was quite good. I listened to that on Audible, and so she is the same author that wrote the Wicked King series, which is a trilogy, and The Stolen Heir is the first of a duology, I believe, based on one of the characters from that trilogy. Oak, who is the younger brother of Jude, who, I don't want to spoil anything, but she's the main character of that first trilogy. And it was good. I thought I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. It took me a little bit of time to get into it, but once I was into it, I did really enjoy it. Holly Black does such great world building in Elfheim, which is the land of fairy. So the folk who can't tell lies, and just the way that they speak, it's all like, it's almost like she doesn't have to try. It's so good. And you're in it immediately. And I don't know, if you like fantasy and if you like books about fairies, she's great. I would recommend all of them. I love her writing in that genre. Right now I'm reading Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn, and this is the second book in the Legendborn cycle. This one's really good. A couple days ago, I don't know if I would have said that, but it's really interesting. The first book really centers on, well, the whole series centers on Bree, the main character, who is a Black teenager who finds herself in the Arthurian world. I don't remember where they are. I feel like it's the East Coast, but I'm blanking on where it takes place, but it's in the United States. And turns out that she's got some power. It's all very much like magic. So it's like Arthur's Round Table, Lancelot, Merlin. So there's magic and power struggles. And this second book is really focusing on, we found out that Bree is she's an heir of Arthur, and she's facing a lot of racism in this book. And I think it is so good and well told. And I'm just really, really, really enjoying it much more than I enjoyed the first book, because I feel like it's digging deep, and I'm really liking that. So I'm about less than halfway through it, but so far so good. I'm loving it. And then I am reading, I've got hardcovers or soft covers. I'm reading Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. When I had my surgery, my sweet neighbor who loves Colleen Hoover, she's like, I just got this book and I haven't read it yet. Would you like to read it? And I was like, sure. And when I started it, I actually was like, this might be my favorite Colleen Hoover book that I've read in a while. Like, I keep reading her books, even though like, she's not my favorite author by any means, but they're easily accessible to me via my neighbor, and it's fine. But this has really started to annoy me. I'm close to being done. I will finish this soon. I feel like this is written very much like in the style of the Da Vinci Code, which when I say that, I mean, when you finish a chapter, it like sets you up where you want to keep reading, like, because it almost like always ends on some sort of cliffhanger, which is like, but it's all like just drama. And I'm like getting annoyed with the drama, especially when it's so easily figured out. But this was written in 2019, which surprised me because I don't think it's one of her stronger written books, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It will probably be 3 stars from me. And then before I started Regretting You, I had started The People We Keep by Allison Larkin, and I read 1 chapter, and then I switched books. So I'll get back to this one shortly. I don't have any opinions about this one yet. It can go either way for me at this point, so we'll see. But that's it. After this, I don't know what I'm going to, especially on Audible, I'm not sure what I'm going to read. I have that book, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, I think is how you say her last name. I might read that next. I might go into more of a like crime-ish book, a mystery, crime mystery. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm sure I'll have read something else by the time we meet again. So if you held on this long, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. If you would, please like, subscribe. I have set a little arbitrary goal for myself to try to make it to 500 subscribers this year. I don't know, maybe 1 subscriber at a time. So feel free to share with a friend who you think may or may not enjoy watching, and I will see you soon, probably next month. Bye.